Welcome back to the SCSA Coaches Chat and our season previews here at the SJHL Media Office. I am your host, as always, Jamie Neugebauer, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by the head coach and GM of the Yorkton Terriers, Emery Olauson. Emery, thank you so much for doing this. How's the summer gone for you?
Oh, it flew by. It with the three young kids and trying to squeeze a couple of holidays in. Man, it was done in the blink of an eye, but it was fun. It was rewarding, and yeah, got to know our area a little bit better. Spent a little bit of time at the lake, and yeah, just kind of continuing to get settled in Yorkton and getting to know neighbors and community and things like that. So it was a good summer, but it sure felt short.
Yeah, I betcha. Well, look, probably helped by the fact that you had such a wonderful season last year and the Yorkton Terriers brand back to maybe where it used to be, being a really competitive team in this league. How much did kind of last year's success, semifinals and whatnot, how did that help, recruitment and continuing to push the envelope here with the Terriers?
Well, I think it went really well. Like we feel really good about our recruiting class. There's going to be a lot of competition at every position coming up here tomorrow, and we feel like our recruiting was better than it has been. Obviously, my first year here, I only had a couple of days to recruit. Last year we had one season, but also the blemish of the team had run out of money, and it was a lot of concern over finances and the sustainability of the Terriers. And then last year we were, among the top five junior A teams in the country for attendance. Had a good playoff run. So yeah, the recruiting was different for sure. Less phone calls needed to convince one kid to come, and some even sifting through, players that wanted to make Yorkton home that in some cases couldn't. So we're excited about the recruiting class. We added a whole bunch of past leaders, and I think when we last looked at our potential kind of rookie class, we've got 5 or 6 guys that were captains last year. Kind of, had leadership roles on their last team. A lot of guys, kind of led their teams in scoring and things like that. So even though we're replacing some huge pieces to last year's puzzle, we really like the guys we have coming in.
Well, that takes me to my next question then, Emery. It's, obviously, how do you replace Jaron Denoy? How do you replace, David Coyle, obviously Harrison Aldridge, one of the underrated guys in the league, and obviously Ethan Farrell. The list goes on of these guys that were key leaders for you last year. How do you replace kind of not just the talent, because that's one thing, but the human beings? I don't need to tell you, we're second to none in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that, I guess my hope is those players became such a big part of what our culture is, and that lasts. So, the guys even coming here and arriving over the last 4 or 5 days to help out with the hockey school. The captain skates are high tempo. The drills are executed at a really good, kind of standard for this time of year. And I think that is a lot of, those leaders that moved on made an impact and rubbed off on the guys that we have coming back. So we feel more and more confident with the core group of guys, just because who they had to learn from last year. And the other part of it is obviously Jaron Denoyer wasn't one of the marquee, best scoring players in the entire SJHL until he was. So everyone's starting with zero this year. So, will those guys be in our dressing room this year or someone else's? Who knows? But that's the exciting thing is you try and surround people with good support and good teammates and give them opportunities to be successful. And, not all of them are going to be as successful as Jaron was. But that to me is a culture piece too. That we were lucky to have Jaron, and we're still lucky to have Jaron as a past Yorkton Terrier, and we can use that as hey guys, remember how hard he worked in practice? Like, are we maintaining that standard or not? And that's our job as coaches, just to utilize those players that were here, even though they're no longer here, they can still help us with our standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard you use that line on the fabulous coaches show with Benny the everybody starts with 0 goals line. I think it's a really good line. I got to ask you too. By the time this comes out, it's in the rearview mirror actually, but I'll ask you anyways. A couple of years in a row, Yorkton has hosted this, I guess, preseason tournament with Manitoba League teams coming in. You have Weiwei, Sikapo, and Dauphin from the MJHL coming in to Westland Arena this year. Just talk about maybe the value of maybe seeing a different jersey opposed to you, even at this point of the year. I know it'll be early, so I'm sure a lot of young faces in the lineup, but just talk about the importance of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the importance is just intrigue. Our fans get to see, the Melville Millionaires 8 times unless we play in the playoffs, and then it's 13 times in last season, as well as the 2 preseason games. So, I'm sure for selling tickets, it would be great if we just scheduled 60 games against Melville. But seeing Dauphin, seeing Weiwei Sikapo, and then finishing with Melville, I think is just a really good mix of, we can have a look at what they look like, what maybe some of their young prospects look like. We get to compare ourselves to a junior A hockey team, just like we do in our league. And geographically, it just makes a lot of sense to have a look at some different opponents. And I think it's really good for our league and for our organization just to kind of create those relationships across the line a little bit, because we live close to it. So I mean, preseason's preseason. I think, if we were in the middle of the province, we'd more likely play 5, 6 exhibition games against SJHL teams, and we're on the eastern side of the province, so it makes some sense to go over to Manitoba.
Yeah, totally fair. And you mentioned earlier in our chat the fact that guys last year had to grow and learn and step into roles. And you mentioned the money situation there, but also obviously guys leaving and all that. So was it kind of a blessing in some sort of disguise that struggle and emerge, to use the Notre Dame line almost, I guess, for some of the guys that are back, obviously the Jai Zawatskis and the Tommy Reeses and whatnot, to see those veteran guys leave and say, hey, the ice time is going to be ours, the responsibility is ours, and that might really help you a lot this year coming up.
For sure. You know what? Last year, someone asked, like, oh man, like what kind of a flawless year? Like we were kind of winning a game or 2 every weekend, and it didn't seem like we went on any cold streaks. And from the outside looking in, if you just looked at like our schedule and the way the players performed, you'd think that we faced very little adversity. And people forget Jaron Denway got injured a couple of times. Coyle was out for a good portion of the season. Jeff Hammond got hurt for almost the entire season. Schofer got hurt twice. Like we had our fair share of bumps and bruises along the way, and we also lost 2 players to the BCHL after the trade deadline. But we just kind of built and had a next man up mentality the whole way, and we want to keep that. Like whether it's Jai, and Jai's certainly gonna elevate. And if you look at his skill set, would it shock me to see him near the top of the league scoring? Not at all. Adding Gabriel Corchet, like we've got a lot of guys that, if you want to kind of guess who might end up at the top of our scoring list, you'd probably have a handful of names that you might guess, but there's always surprises. We got Jaron Denway because he wasn't getting any opportunity in the AJHL. He started on our 3rd line. Maybe that's a lack of me knowing exactly what I had in him. But he also just proved it every single day, worked harder, and continued to earn more respect and trust in every opportunity. And that's why he ended up where he did. So, I don't know if that answers your question at all, but we're definitely looking at guys that are part of our returning core to step up and fill important roles. But we also recruited players that are going to push them. And we're going to have a next man up mentality. Our 24, 25 man roster is going to be useful from top to bottom.
Yeah, for sure. And two more questions, Emery. Really appreciate your time, and you know better than me that finding a goalie that you like is super hard. It's probably always been hard for GMs, but you seem to like Callum Craig an awful lot. Every time you get an interview, you seem to talk about him, and for good reason. He had a really nice year as a young player last year. Talk about the comfort factor of knowing who you're going to throw out there, or probably throw out there day one.
Yeah, well, I kind of remember, and goaltending is a position a lot like coaching. Like if you have a good team in front of you, um, then your goaltenders benefit from that. And we certainly had a good team last year. But Ethan and Craig competed against each other hard all year. It was always a hard decision to decide who was going to start, and to have an 18-year-old take any amount of ice time and starts in the playoffs against a 20-year-old bona fide starter like Callum did. It obviously, my prediction would be we're going to be very set in net from the number one position, but we've also got other goaltenders coming here that we feel very comfortable, and I think we're sitting in a position where we're going to have one goaltender not make our team that's a high quality junior A level goaltender, or two. So yeah, we're excited about the position. Callum's on his way actually to Edmonton Oil Kings camp now. Are we hoping we get him back? Yes, selfishly, but Callum has a way of impressing people around him. So we wish him all the luck in the world at his camp in Edmonton, and like I said, we kind of recruited knowing that great goaltenders are hard to find, but they might be even harder to keep. So Callum's on his way up to the WHL to have a look, and they're going to have a look at him in Edmonton, and then yeah, we'll let the competition kind of rage on here in Yorkton, and we're pretty excited about the other guys we have here as well.
Great to hear, and people out there who are watching this right now will know what ends up happening with that situation. So very cool. Last question for you then, Emery. Again, appreciate your time. The Bungie division seems wide open. The newly renamed Bungie division, formerly the Videra. It seems like every team in your division could maybe win it this year as we sit here in the preseason. So it should be very interesting. Just talk about expectations from the community. Then now you've kind of rebranded, put it back on track, perhaps, if you want to put it that way. But just talk about what you're hearing from the buzz, the excitement people have, after your run last year, and how fun it was to be around Westland Arena again, and just the crowds that you had. What are you hearing from people?
They're going to be back, and the expectation is we got to take another step. So I think daily improvement has been what we've been after here for 2 years. It culminated in us losing to the eventual champion, Melfort Mustangs. But what have we said to the guys in our exit meetings and over our summer video calls too is, like, at least we got to see the mountain last year. 2 years ago, we gained no playoff experience. Last year, our dressing room featured 2 players who had played in junior playoffs before. This year, everybody has that returns. So we got to get through the regular season. And we got to get through the preseason with our confidence and working hard. But then we got to get through a regular season in a position to take a playoff run, and then try and get higher on the mountain. And that's what our fans expect. That's what our sponsors expect. And believe me, our players have that standard as well.
Awesome. We get to see the mountain. That's an awesome line, Emery. That's great. I wrote that down. All right. The Yorkton Terriers season begins September the 19th. Emery Olauson, head coach and GM of the Terriers, thank you so much for your time. All the best, and we'll talk plenty during the year.
Thanks, Neugsy.